Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wondered why some homes are filled with peace and blessing, while others are surrounded by confusion, anger, and fear? Sometimes the darkest battles are not fought in the streets, but in our very homes. Yes, my friends, witches don't always live in forests or fairy tales. Sometimes they hide their weapons in our living rooms, our hearts, and even our words. Words create atmosphere. Every word that leaves your mouth carries energy, either positive or negative, creative or destructive. The atmosphere around you is not just shaped by what happens, but by what is spoken. When you speak life, you build an environment of peace and possibility. When you speak fear or doubt, you invite darkness and limitation. Our homes, relationships, and even our personal lives are spiritual gardens, and our words are the seeds. Whatever we speak consistently takes root and begins to grow. If your home is full of arguments, complaints, gossip, and negativity, that energy begins to fill the air, making it difficult for joy and faith to flourish. The power of speech is not a small thing. It is one of the greatest forces given to humanity. Every sentence creates a ripple in the unseen realm, shaping the emotions, thoughts, and even destinies of those who hear it. Many people underestimate the power of their own voice. They pray for peace, but speak chaos. They desire blessings, but declare defeat. They want love, but spread bitterness through their words. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. And those who understand this truth realize that every word is a spiritual weapon. When your speech is filled with gratitude, kindness, and encouragement, it builds walls of protection around your spirit. But when your speech is filled with anger and criticism, it breaks those walls down, allowing darkness to enter. Words have creative power because they are expressions of belief. What you speak reveals what you believe, and what you believe manifests in your environment. If you want your home to change, start with your words. Replace complaints with thanksgiving. Instead of saying, "Nothing ever works out," declare, "Something good is on its way." Speak peace over your family. Speak hope into your children. Speak blessing into every corner of your life. The atmosphere will begin to shift, not because of magic, but because your words align with faith and truth. It is impossible to speak light and live in darkness for long. The sound of your words carries a vibration that affects not only others, but also yourself. When you hear your own voice speaking faith, your spirit gains strength. When you constantly repeat worry and fear, your spirit becomes heavy and tired. The environment you live in is a reflection of what you have been saying. You can't build a life of joy using the language of sorrow. You can't create a future of faith using the vocabulary of fear. Speak as if every word matters, because it does. Speak as if every sentence plants a seed, because it does. Even when things look dark, speak light. Even when life feels empty, speak abundance. Every word is a brushstroke painting the picture of your future. Choose wisely what kind of world you are creating with your words, for your voice holds the power to transform your entire atmosphere. Unforgiveness blocks blessings. When a person holds on to bitterness, anger, or resentment, they unknowingly build a wall between themselves and the flow of peace, joy, and divine favor. Unforgiveness is not simply a feeling, it is a spiritual weight that traps the heart in the past and prevents it from moving forward. Many people pray for breakthroughs, success, and healing, yet deep inside, They still carry wounds from those who wronged them. Those wounds, when left unhealed, become barriers that stop blessings from entering. Forgiveness is not about pretending that the pain never happened. It is about releasing yourself from the control of that pain. When you forgive, you set yourself free. When you refuse to forgive, you remain chained to the memory of the hurt. Unforgiveness poisons the soul slowly. It begins as a small thought, an unwillingness to let go. And over time, it grows into bitterness, hatred, and even depression. The mind keeps replaying the hurt, and the heart becomes a battlefield of emotions. This internal war drains strength and steals peace. A heart filled with anger cannot fully receive love, and a spirit filled with resentment cannot fully receive grace. Just as dirty water cannot quench thirst, a bitter heart cannot experience true joy. The blessings of life, whether spiritual or material, flow through a clean and open heart. When the heart is blocked with unforgiveness, that flow is interrupted. You may work harder, pray louder, and still feel empty because the blockage is within, not around you. Forgiving someone does not mean that what they did was right or acceptable. It means you choose not to let their actions control your emotions or your destiny anymore. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is power under control. It is saying, you hurt me, but you will not define me. Every act of forgiveness clears away spiritual clutter and makes room for new blessings to arrive. When you release others from judgment, you also release yourself from spiritual bondage. The peace that follows forgiveness is not ordinary. It is deep, healing peace that renews the spirit and restores joy. Many people live with constant frustration, unaware that their greatest breakthrough is locked behind the door of forgiveness. Unforgiveness not only affects relationships, but also weakens your connection with the divine. A heart heavy with bitterness cannot hear the quiet voice of wisdom or feel the presence of true peace. When you let go, your heart becomes light again, and blessings begin to flow effortlessly. Forgiveness creates spiritual alignment. It opens the path for love, opportunities, and miracles to enter. The moment you choose to forgive, you stop living as a victim and start living as a victor. The power to heal, to grow, and to receive lies not in holding on, but in letting go. Fear is the enemy's strongest weapon. It is silent, invisible, and yet powerful enough to paralyze dreams, destroy confidence, and imprison the mind. Fear whispers lies into the heart, convincing people that they are weak, unworthy, or destined to fail. It blinds the eyes of faith and fills the imagination with worst-case scenarios that often never happen. When fear enters a person's life, it slowly begins to dominate their thoughts, their emotions, and eventually their actions. Fear does not only attack during moments of crisis, it lives quietly within daily doubts, constant worries, and self-limiting beliefs. The enemy understands that if he can make you afraid, he can make you stop believing. And when faith dies, victory disappears. Fear is not just an emotion, it is a spiritual force designed to disconnect people from their purpose. It feeds on uncertainty and grows in silence. The more a person listens to fear, the stronger it becomes. It creates walls that keep people from stepping into new opportunities, taking bold decisions, or following their calling. Many lives have remained stagnant, not because they lacked ability, but because fear convinced them that they were not ready. Fear says, what if you fail? But faith answers, what if you succeed? The truth is, Every great thing ever achieved began with someone refusing to be ruled by fear. Fear is loud in the beginning, but it weakens the moment courage speaks. The enemy uses fear to attack the mind because the mind is the battlefield where victories are won or lost. Once fear takes root there, it begins to affect everything else: sleep, relationships, health, and peace of mind. People under fear tend to overthink, doubt themselves, and see obstacles instead of opportunities. But courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite feeling afraid. When faith is active, fear loses its authority. Fear cannot stay where truth is spoken and believed. That is why it is vital to fill the heart with positive declarations, prayer, and confidence in a higher power. The more light you invite in, the less room there is for darkness. Fear often disguises itself as caution, logic, or even wisdom, but its real goal is to keep people small. It limits creativity, kills motivation, and makes people settle for less than they deserve. The enemy's plan is not always to destroy you quickly, but to make you live quietly in fear until your dreams fade away. The moment you confront fear and act in faith, you break that power. You begin to see that fear was never as strong as it appeared. It only survived because it was believed. Once you choose to believe in faith over fear, courage rises, clarity returns, and peace becomes your strength. Distractions become modern idols. In the past, idols were carved from stone or wood, worshipped in temples, and feared by nations. Today, idols no longer stand on pedestals. They glow on screens, fill our minds, and quietly steal our attention. Distraction has become one of the most powerful tools to separate people from purpose. Every moment spent scrolling endlessly, chasing approval, or drowning in noise is a moment taken away from peace, growth, and divine connection. Distractions are subtle. They rarely announce themselves as enemies. They enter disguised as entertainment, convenience, or even necessity, until one day they rule over thoughts, emotions, and time. What you give your constant attention to becomes what you serve, and what you serve becomes your God. When distraction controls your focus, it slowly shapes your heart and weakens your spiritual foundation. Modern idols are not always bad things. They can be ordinary things loved in the wrong measure. Social media, ambition, possessions, and even relationships can become idols when they occupy the place meant for inner stillness and reflection. The human heart was created to seek meaning, but when it fills that space with constant noise, the soul begins to starve. Distraction creates a false sense of fulfillment. It entertains the mind but empties the spirit. The more a person consumes external stimulation, the less they hear the quiet inner voice that guides them toward truth. The tragedy of modern life is not lack of knowledge, but lack of stillness. People know everything about the world, but have forgotten how to listen to their own soul. Distractions weaken spiritual discipline. They rob people of the ability to focus, meditate, and connect with purpose. The constant demand for attention fragments the mind, making it difficult to stay present. Many people pray, but cannot focus for more than a few seconds before their thoughts wander to something else. They plan to grow, but notifications, entertainment, and business steal the time meant for reflection and renewal. The enemy does not always need to destroy your faith. He only needs to keep you too distracted to use it. Every unguarded moment becomes an open door for confusion and emptiness to enter. True peace cannot be found in a life that is constantly running, scrolling, and consuming. Peace comes only when the noise stops long enough for clarity to speak. When distractions take over, they quietly replace devotion. Time once spent on prayer, family, creativity, and purpose gets buried under meaningless activity. The modern idol is not evil because of what it is, but because of what it replaces. It steals the sacred space within the heart where wisdom, gratitude, and divine presence dwell. The way to defeat modern idols is not by hating the world, but by learning to guard attention as a sacred treasure. Attention is the currency of the soul. Wherever it goes, energy flows. When you give your attention to truth, peace grows. When you give it to noise, chaos grows. The spirit in your home reflects your heart. Every home carries an atmosphere, an invisible presence that cannot be touched, but can always be felt. When you enter a place filled with love, peace, and warmth, you can sense it instantly. Likewise, when you step into a space filled with tension, bitterness, or sadness, that feeling lingers in the air. The truth is, the condition of a home is often a mirror of the heart that lives within it. The emotions, words, and thoughts that fill your inner world eventually shape the spiritual climate of the environment around you. A heart that is angry or fearful cannot build a peaceful home, because what lives inside of you will always find a way to live around you. The spirit in your home is not created by the furniture or decoration, but by the energy of your emotions and the spirit you carry each day. When a person lives with constant stress or negativity, that vibration spreads through every corner of the house. Conversations become shorter, laughter fades, and love feels distant. The heart's condition quietly paints the walls with either peace or pressure. Children and loved ones can feel it even when no words are spoken. A home filled with love, gratitude, and kindness becomes a sanctuary of rest. But when anger and resentment dwell there, the same home can feel like a battlefield. People often try to fix their environment by rearranging things outside, but real peace begins inside. A peaceful home starts with a peaceful heart. The moment you start healing from within, releasing grudges, calming your mind, and embracing faith, the energy in your surroundings starts to change. The spirit in your home grows from what you allow to stay in your thoughts. If you constantly replay fear, worry, or judgment, that energy becomes the silent background noise of your home. But when you fill your mind with prayer, hope, and positive words, that energy radiates into every room. A heart aligned with truth and love can transform even the smallest house into a place of refuge. The power of presence is stronger than any decoration or luxury. You can live in a simple home and still carry a royal atmosphere if your heart is full of peace. Likewise, you can live in a mansion and still feel empty if your heart is restless. The home is an extension of the soul. It reflects what you truly believe and how deeply you trust in goodness. Every argument, every smile, every prayer adds to the invisible foundation of your home spirit. The more you nurture your heart with forgiveness and compassion, the more light you bring into your surroundings. A pure heart releases calmness that others can feel the moment they enter. Your heart is the lamp that lights your home, and when it shines with love, that light spreads beyond your walls and touches everyone who walks through your door. Light always drives out darkness. No matter how deep the night or how thick the shadow, the smallest flame of light still wins. Darkness has no true power of its own. It only exists where light is absent. This truth applies not only to nature, but also to the human spirit. When fear, hatred, or despair fill a heart, it feels like darkness has taken control. But the moment light enters, through faith, love, forgiveness, or truth, darkness begins to fade. Light represents clarity, goodness, and divine presence. It brings understanding where confusion once ruled and peace where chaos tried to live. Every person carries the ability to bring light, not just through words, but through kindness, faith, and inner strength. When you choose to shine instead of complain, when you choose hope instead of hopelessness, you become a vessel of light that no darkness can overcome. Darkness works through lies and illusions. It convinces people that situations are impossible, that pain will never end, or that they are alone. Light breaks those illusions by exposing truth. The moment truth is spoken, the chains of deception begin to fall away. That is why speaking words of faith and positivity is so powerful. It's like turning on a lamp in a dark room. The darkness doesn't fight the light, it simply disappears. When you live with a heart full of love and faith, your presence becomes a light that changes the atmosphere wherever you go. People can feel it even without words, because light is not just seen, it is felt. It lifts others, inspires hope, and pushes back the invisible heaviness that tries to surround them. The battle between light and darkness is not fought outside, but within the human heart. Every thought of anger, jealousy, or fear adds a shade of darkness, while every act of forgiveness, gratitude, and compassion brightens the soul. When the inner world shines, the outer world begins to shift, even in the darkest seasons of life. When everything seems uncertain, light still exists. It may appear small, but it is never powerless. A single candle can break the silence of the night, and one act of faith can change the course of a life. That is the nature of light. It does not need to be loud, it only needs to be present. Darkness depends on fear to survive, but light feeds on courage and truth. Light is contagious. When one heart begins to shine, others around it are encouraged to do the same. The glow of goodness spreads silently, but powerfully. Every word of kindness, every prayer, every moment of faith adds more brightness to the world. The more you nurture light within, the less darkness can influence your mind or your surroundings. Wherever there is love, faith, and truth, darkness must retreat, because it cannot coexist with light.